Hello, Oracles. How's it going today? I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my mic. I have been trying to work on it. Not sure why it's not working, but anyway, you guys can probably hear me. So we'll go with how it is. Hey, it's what happens with live streams. So lots of good news today. Interesting rumors for sure. We got insured numbers out of China today. Stock pulled back a little bit more today. Again, not a concern for me. Doesn't really bother me all that much that we're pulling back. Again, I kind of feel this coming, but we've got some macro stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks, and then we've got earnings coming up. So we will see how all that plays out. Let me see here. We'll take a look at the numbers really quick. What's going on, Hanif? I'll get this chart up here for you. All right. Yeah, so I mean, still consolidating around this 192 mark. So obviously we saw this this pullback a little bit. What's going on, Chadwick? Hey, Katie. Raymond, what's going on? Good evening. Hanif, I'm doing well. Today was a rough day at work. But hey, made it through it. It's all good. What's going on, Dominic? So you're looking at the charts here. Again, we've got this gap that goes up to 207. It's just not showing on here right now. So I almost wonder if we're going to fill that gap. And again, if the Fed's going to pause, we may end up seeing a run. We may go up before we come down to fill these gaps. Now, my take on this is still that I think we are going to get into a recession and the Fed is going to pivot and we will come down and fill these gaps at some point. I just don't know if it's going to happen before the end of the year. Honestly, don't know. A lot can happen. A lot can happen. I mean, we've seen crazy things happen over the last 12 months. So I, at this point, can't write anything off. But yeah, the news about this next gen vehicle. So it sounds like over in China, they are looking at doing a 4 million run rate vehicle over there, and it's like a mini Model Y. We know that Elon is going over to China to talk to the prime minister. I have a feeling that has to do with running FSD beta over there. That's going to be huge. I mean, thinking about the fact that that's Tesla's second largest market, could potentially be the largest market for them. And they're going to be running FSD beta, all of that extra data coming in. That is going to just take them to the next level with FSD, with that coming in. And so I have a feeling you're going to do that. But obviously, Elon's not going to fly over to China just for that. He hasn't been to the factory since before COVID hit. So I have no doubt he wants to go to the factory, see what's going on. I don't know where Tom Zhu is at this point. Maybe he is back over in Shanghai and they've got things to talk about. One of the things that we had talked about, I think, end of 2021, rumors were circulating around how China wanted to design their own vehicle. They wanted to have their own design studio, come up with their own vehicle that was coming out of China. I had a feeling at the time that that was going to be the next gen vehicle, which was the compact car. This could be it. This could be that design that they've been working on in secret that was rumored way back then. And this could be, exactly what they're working on now. This could be what Elon is going to be discussing with them. This could be what's leaking out. So whether we actually find out about it now or not, I think this just gives a little more information, despite the fact that it is still just a rumor. It just gives us some more support to that theory that they are going to be designing that compact car, the next gen vehicle, and that's probably what Mexico is going to be producing. I have no doubt that they're going to produce it in China as well. So we're going to probably have China and Mexico producing this next gen vehicle, just like we have the Model Y that is getting produced all over the world. We're going to end up having China producing it for mass exports, and Mexico is going to be producing it for North America. That's just my take on it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I have a feeling that is what we are going to be seeing. Yeah, and if you're right, when compact cars come out, ICE is done. As of right now, we always talk about it. It's not EVs versus EVs. It's EVs versus ICE. And if we're going to be realistic about this, EVs do not have, well, at least on Tesla's standpoint, There are no vehicles that are competing with those lower end ICE vehicles. Someone who's not making a lot of money, if they want to buy new, most people are like looking to buy used cars, but if they want to buy a new car for under $25,000, it can't be a Tesla. Just not going to happen, just not reality right now. When that does become reality, people are going to make the clear choice and go with a Tesla. Okay, maybe not as clear to all of us, but it would make more sense for them to go with a Tesla than it is for them to go with an ICE vehicle. So you're absolutely right. As soon as that happens, it's done. ICE is out. Sorry, just playing around with my microphone. Still not working. Not sure what's going on. Oh well, it happens. I'll fix that later. Get out of my way. So how is everybody's day today? We also got China insured numbers coming in. So looks like they had 15,000 insured vehicles coming out of China, and that there is a good number coming out. There was 12,000 Model Ys, which was up, and I think it was like 3,000 Model 3s, which was down about 49%. So again, you have to remember the first month and a half of a quarter, they're usually focusing on exports. So even growing the number at all is awesome to see. And it did kind of overlap between March and April. So it's not a true number for just April, not true number for all the numbers going into the second quarter. So some of those numbers could have been that last minute push as well for China over there to try and finish the quarter off. So we'll take a look at next week's numbers and see what those truly are, because that'll be truly Q2 numbers. Raymond, doesn't the Oracle foresee all? Tim should be able to predict Tesla stock tomorrow, like both up and down, like shorting your cat inside a box, both dead and alive simultaneously. Yes, the stock will go up and down tomorrow. I can guarantee that. It will go up, it will come down, it will finish the day off at a certain level, and that's it. And long term, it's going to go up. That's just how it's going to be. Hanif, I'm hoping Mexico will supply North and South America. Berlin will supply Europe, and Shanghai will supply everywhere else with compact cars. Yeah, that makes the most sense. And I think, again, the next factory I think we're going to see is going to be somewhere in the Asia Pacific region. We're going to end up seeing that. They may produce the next gen vehicle as well. I truly don't know. And then I think the next factory after that may be another European one that will be designed for the next gen vehicle. I don't know if it's actually going to come out of Berlin. With the way they ran Model Y, and basically the way they ran Model 3 before they ended up putting up Berlin, and then the way they ran Model Y before Berlin came up, Shanghai was doing all of the exports over there, may end up being the same way with this next gen vehicle. And so they may have Mexico and Shanghai kind of doing all of that until they get a European factory up for this next gen vehicle. So it could run very similar to what we saw happening between Fremont and then graduating to Shanghai and then graduating to Austin and Berlin. Might end up being the same situation there. But going to South America, that's one thing that a lot of people overlook, especially when it comes to total addressable market. People look at places like India, South America. They're like, well, EVs can't do well there. They don't have a good electrical grid. Why would they sell cars there? They don't sell cars very well there at all. Well, that's what Tesla's trying to change. Tesla's going to go there. They can supply the grid that is needed. It's almost easier to go in, just like looking at Fremont, going into Fremont and trying to redo a factory. It's not as easy as it is when you go with a clean slate, like all the new factories that they've built. So if that's the case, you go into a country that you can basically have a clean slate with versus here in the US where you need to modify and upgrade the grid. And then it's a slower process. If you've got nothing to work with and you could just go in there and be like, all right, we're going to start fresh and just do this. That could be something that, is really going to change the world. Brazil didn't have internet. Starlink provided that. Tesla can come in, provide a better electrical grid and a reliable source of transportation for these people, especially with that next gen vehicle. So going into South America, I think is going to be a massive market that a lot of people don't understand is there for them to break into. Great point, Chadwick. Keep in mind they're breaking these records during one of the most, during the worst economic environments in history. So true. And I think it will get worse before it finally does come out of this. But Tesla's doing well. They have primed themselves to be in this position to handle it. And even if it gets worse, Tesla's ready for it to get worse. Like thinking about the timing of it, if we're really going to get into a recession in 2024, that's exactly when you would want to have a $25,000 vehicle out. It's exactly when Tesla's going to have it out. Like the timing is all perfect there. Mexico has free trade with many countries. Tesla can leverage that to possibly avoid import tax duties. Yeah, that'll be huge too, especially if they're going to be putting up that battery factory in Texas with CATL. That's going to be a massive game changer for them as well. So lots of stuff going on there. And then I heard Indonesia is also going to they've got a tax over there for EVs that's 11%. They're knocking it down to 1% to try and really promote EVs over there. So Indonesia is really pushing to get a factory in Tesla and really drive EVs. That's why I have a feeling they're going to be the next factory. Katie, I think Tesla should come to Detroit and put greedy Ford out of business. It's ironic that they didn't go there because they went to Berlin strictly because that is the automotive hub of Europe. And I think Detroit just wasn't the option for Tesla because they wanted more space. There was probably too much. Like thinking about the red tape that they found in Berlin, trying to go into Detroit, I have no doubt there's so much corruption there. Tesla wouldn't have even been able to get in there. So Texas made a lot of sense. And thinking about the fact that they're in Texas, they have the biggest blue state and the biggest red state. Now with they're harnessing their businesses in both. So from a political standpoint, they've got both sides of this as well. Ford still pumping prices. Yeah. And then we did see those numbers come in from GM and Ford, and GM actually outsold Ford in EVs. Neither of them did very well, but Ford coming in with 10,000 EVs sold in the first quarter, that's 2 days for Tesla. Like 2 days of production out of Berlin from Tesla. No, 5,000 per week, 2 weeks worth. My mistake. But still, that's insane how far behind Legacy is right now. Ford digging their own grave. I think, and honestly, I've said it before, of all of them, I think Ford is going to do the best. I wish them the best. I think they've got the right approach with all of this. I hope they do well, but it's not going to be easy. Yeah, and if Hanif, Indonesia has a lot of minerals for battery manufacturing, not to mention free trade agreement with India and free trade agreement with the US. So anything that they get from materials in Indonesia will also qualify for that EV tax credit. However, it falls in there. I don't have that all memorized, but I know that Indonesia falls into that category, so it would work. And then again, going to India, that could help them out as well because India is so hard to get into. That's why Tesla just kind of took a step back and said, screw you guys. If you're not going to work with us, we're not going to work with you. What's going on, John? Hey, Karaf, how's it going? Yeah, how many total Tesla stock do you own an average cost? Total I own, let me see, I just got to 62 in my main portfolio and I have 11 in my IRA. My average cost is just over $225 in my main portfolio and 196 in my IRA. And for me right now, I'm waiting for it to get under 150 in my IRA to start adding. That's where I sold. So I actually have 125 as my mark. So I'm going to see how the market plays out. If we look like we're going to go on a bull run before the market pulls back, I may buy in with a couple and then let it ride up and then sell them a little bit higher. I don't know. We've been hovering around this area for a while. My main portfolio, I buy every single day. So I'm trying to get to 200 shares by the end of the year. But if we don't get a pullback, it's not going to happen. Unless I get a massive windfall of cash from somewhere. I don't know. But if that happens, then I will absolutely be able to get to 200. But at this point right now, I'm not sure if that'll happen. But I'll get to 100 easily. What's going on, Michael? Where did it go? I just had a Hyundai and Kia. Yeah, Hyundai and Kia. There's a couple that are flying under the radar. Hyundai is doing well. There's just a couple that like they know their place, they know the role. They're going to come out here and they're They're not out here to be in the limelight and be like, I'm Ford, I'm GM, even I'm Tesla. It's just like Hyundai and Kia are like, all right, cool, we're doing EVs now. Sweet. Let's start selling them. And that's it. They're just doing their thing. Good for them. Uh, Legacy sitting on their butts laughing at Elon and Tesla. Now they're crying in their beds, hugging pillows. It's seriously, like I truly wish I would love to be able to see the inside of boardrooms of them having discussions about what's truly going on versus what they present to all of us. That would be interesting. What's going on, Henry? It's funny, Henry. That's one of my uncle's names, and I actually named my plant Henry. So he's over in the corner right now. My plant, not my uncle. Raymond, Giga Nueva Leon will be almost twice the size of Austin. Maybe by that time, Tim's followers will be twice the size of Farzad. I don't know. Farzad's awesome, man. Farzad, he just grabbed a hold of this and having the free time to be able to do it every single day and just focus all of his attention on it. Good for him. I absolutely love the guy. He's been doing great. So if I could ever get to that point, that would be awesome. That is not a goal that I'm striving to achieve right now. I just want to keep growing the way I'm growing and love chatting with you guys. So if I can get there, great. If not, I'm happy with going the way I'm going. But looking at, yeah, if they're going to be I mean, being twice the size of Austin, Austin has so much space there. I'm really curious as to what they're going to be doing. I don't know if maybe that's going to be the town that they end up building that Elon was talking about. Is that why they have so much land there? They're going to literally build a college, a town, everything that they need right there on site instead of another factory. I mean, they have room for probably both, so who knows? But yeah, being twice the size, that tells me that if they're going to build it twice the size, that means that the capacity is going to be, like they said in China, they want to push out 4 million. Totally possible if that's going to be the size of the factory. And they would have a factory, I would imagine they're going to probably put 2 vehicles out of there. It's going to be the next gen vehicle, the compact car, and then it's going to be the robo taxi. And I think the robo taxi and Cybervan are going to be on the same platform. So I think they're going to both come out of that same factory as well. If Tim needs a GoFundMe to account in order to buy more Tesla shares, if that was possible, oh man, I mean, of course it's possible, but could you just imagine, like, hey, everybody just give me money so I could go buy Tesla shares? Michael, or we could help with a few chat bucks. I do appreciate that. And Michael, I know you share them all the time. So I appreciate any super chats and everything like that. It's totally not necessary, but awesome. And I love it from you guys. Karov, 2 Hummer EVs, the competition is coming slowly, very slowly. They are coming. At this rate, by next year, they're going to have 5. Oh man, so much. I mean, they are pumping out the lyrics, so good for them. But like the speed that they're going, and again, I always go back to where was Tesla at the beginning? How fast did they ramp from the very beginning? And where is competition compared to them? I can say, hey, startups, if they're somewhere near where Tesla was at, good for them. That's what they're doing. But when it comes to Legacy, Legacy has a lot more capital. They have a lot more money that they can utilize to make this happen, and they're still not doing it. So, and there it is. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Love your super stickers, man. Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, just, looking at what they have going on, I cannot imagine. And they have so many more models coming out. Like, what is their production going to be getting to? How do they even get to economies of scale? I thought about it at my job today. Looking at like the branch that I run is the smallest branch in our company. And one thing I've noticed in my career as a retail manager is when you work in the smaller branches and the smaller stores, it's a lot harder to get things done because you have less people to do things. So if you have an issue you need to deal with, you don't have all the bodies to wrangle up to go and do it, because usually if you do that, you end up creating another problem elsewhere. You need to have much more efficient systems in order to be able to come out with something that's going to be producing better things at higher margins. So the branch that I'm in, because the company that I work for doesn't have efficient systems in our branch, we struggle a lot more. And so we have to deal with that and come up with our own systems. And it's like, we're only as good as the tools that we're given. And the tools that we're given are not very good, but we do the best we can with them. But the branches that we have that are higher volume, they have more bodies to deal with, and because they're selling more stuff, they have more money coming in. So they have better tools to use in those branches. This is what I'm looking at when it comes to legacy auto. They're spread so thin and they're not using efficient systems. So when you're trying to put out smaller amounts of vehicles, that's why they're not going to be able to make money on these vehicles because they're so inefficient. Honey, thank you. I appreciate that. Karav, Timmy should try making charts with your production forecasts. So I've actually done that. I'm going to take a look at mine and see if I can do it. I do know how to. It's just a matter of actually having the time to do it. Like, for instance, in a couple of weeks, my son has a game. Man, Saturday, it's the middle of the day, 2 hours away. Sunday, it's in the middle of the day, 2.5 hours away. So I'm actually going to make the best of it. And it's up in New Hampshire. So I'm going to go hiking before his second game. I'm just going to get a hotel and stay up there. So I'll go hiking. So I'll if I can, I'll make a video for you guys hiking in New Hampshire because I know a lot of you guys like those hiking videos. So getting back to not having the time, I have stuff like that going on. So I don't have a lot of time to be able to get in there and do the charts. But man, yours are so good. I'll be silly trying to compete with yours, but I'll do my best. I'll try to do my best for you, Karav. I'm surprised GM got two people to buy that Hummer. Takes so long to charge. Well, the two that they sold were probably two executives within the company themselves. That was it, or somebody who wanted to test it, like yeah, totally. Sandy Monroe. Monroe is probably one of the ones who bought it so they could break it down. David Studio. Anybody know when BMW will reveal their deliveries for Q1? I have a feeling that Tesla will overtake them pretty soon. That I don't know. If any of you guys know, let me see if anybody responded yet. No, I don't know if any of you guys know about that. Please share, because I know, looking at the numbers, Europe, obviously they did very, very well. The numbers coming out of China, they're at, I think, 84 or 86,000 year to date, and that is number one in the country for BEVs. The Model 3 is number 10 overall in China right now. So I don't know where they are in Europe, but we're hearing like Denmark, Model Y is the number one selling vehicle. Norway, I mean, all of these countries in Europe, Model Y is the number one vehicle. So where BMW is going to fall in that, I don't know. But seeing as Tesla's hitting number one everywhere, I cannot fathom that BMW is going to beat them. I would imagine Tesla must have them beat. They'll sit in museums. Yeah, maybe that's who bought them. Maybe museums bought them. Who knows? Let me see. What other news do we get today? We got a lot of news. Oh, did you guys see Elon yesterday changed the Twitter logo from the bird to a Doge? And that's obviously why Doge took off. But it's coming. Like, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys do crypto. I know some of you do. I've chatted with several of you. I've got myself ADA, Cardano, which I know David pushes a lot. So that's awesome. Do well with that one. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Dogecoin. I've got Sheeb just as the fun play because it usually rides with Doge. So if Doge is going to take off, I'll ride the Sheeb up as well. But April Fool's joke. Was it an April Fool's joke? I don't know about that. I mean, he actually did change it. I saw it. It was there. But either way, I have a feeling it's going to be more prominent. I mean, going to the actual functionality of the coin, it's a very functional coin. Ethereum is going to be better, but Doge is going to be functional. And if Elon's going to use it over on Twitter, if he's going to use it, as currency, other people have done it as well. So I think if we end up seeing more of that, it could end up being worth. I'm guessing it's going to end up becoming like a dollar. It'll be a US dollar. Karav, US surprisingly lowered Q1 numbers. Model S and X dragged numbers down, but also Model 3, which probably needs more price cuts. I agree. I think Model 3 is going to end up getting more price cuts. And there's a lot of states that do individual rebates as well. And that has been that's been helpful in some areas, but it's not all states, so it's tough. Model Y obviously is what they're pushing. So they're trying to do that. So even if Model Y cannibalizes a little bit of the Model 3, I don't think they're all that concerned because that's really the route they're going, especially if, the rumors that we have about the mini Model Y coming out are true. Then having people comfortable with a Model Y being like, ooh, I'd love the Model Y. I just wish I had a smaller version of it that was less expensive. Hey, here you go. And they're going to have it. So that may be end up what comes out. SNX, obviously the SNX not qualifying for the EV tax credit, that was going to take a hit. You can basically get almost the same features in a Model Y. So why would people go and buy the S and the X? So again, those are higher margins, but I don't know if that's going to be anything major that Tesla's concerned about. But I think it will come down on prices. I think once they can get margins in line and say, hey, with the Model Y and the 3, we can actually keep our margins, 25 to 30% on those two vehicles alone. Then they could take a margin hit even more on the S and the X to sell those and push more of those units out. Karav, I got to be honest, Model Y price cuts coming in Q3. The backlog is just being burned through like crazy in the US. Q3 or Q2? Yeah, I mean, the production obviously, and when we're looking at the ramp of production and how fast they're selling all of their vehicles, it's like that balance there is like they're producing a lot more. So are they going to be able to sell all these vehicles that they're producing? How do they get them all sold? They come down on the prices. We know that lithium costs and prices are coming way down. We also see that the costs of a lot of the materials that Elon has been talking about are coming down. They look out and they price it out 6 months ahead. So when we get margins coming in at Q1 earnings, we have to remember that those are prices with the price cuts that we took based upon the prices of the goods that they had paid for then. But if they're looking at prices coming down 6 months from now, even if they come down on prices a little bit more, they know what their prices are for their material costs going forward. So they've got that whole balance. Obviously, there's a whole lot of numbers that are worked into that. But I think when we see the margins coming for Q1, it'll kind of dictate what we'll see for the rest of the year. And I think it'll be very similar to what we saw in China when it came to economies of scale, where when China started pumping out, they of course had their ramp costs. As soon as those ramp costs were gone, margins just kept on climbing rapidly over the next 3 quarters. So that's probably what we're going to end up seeing this year from Berlin and Austin. As they ramp up, ramp costs are going to drop significantly. Margins will end up going up because economies of scale are there. And that will give them the freedom, if need be, to drop prices. They can do so because they'll be able to make up for it with the margins. Raymond, Model Y bestseller in China of any EV or ICE in Q1. Really? Ooh, I did not see that. That's awesome information. Katie, I'm ready to retire. I need Tesla to make it happen. I'm ready to retire also. I'm only 43, but hey, it is our government who has decided that 67 is the age that you should be retiring at. Honestly, that's bullshit. If you are smart and wise with your money, and Karav, I know you're a young guy and you're brilliant. If you're wise with your money, you invest early, you can do this and you can retire by the time you're 30 or 35. And when I say retire, I don't mean not work. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something they want to do with their lives. Who wants to wait until they're 67 to do what they want to do with their lives? If you can do it by the time you're 30 or earlier, do it. That is the smartest thing you can possibly do. And Katie, and you're 34. That's awesome. Absolutely. You can retire at 34. If you are wise with your money, you can do it. I've been doing this. I just finally got myself debt free about a year and a half ago. And was it a year and a half ago? No, last September was it. So I'm like, you know what? Since then, I've been chucking a lot of money into my savings and everything. So now I have a good chunk of money in CDs that are making me money. And if you do it wisely, your money will make you money. That's how investing works. And have your money work for you. Don't let them dictate that, say that you have to retire at 67. That's ridiculous. And Raymond, I have unretired to day trade Tesla stocks. So my dad does. My dad basically just does some trading. He swing trades, not so much day trading, but he swing trades in the stock market. That's what he does for a job. He enjoys it. That's what he loves. That's awesome. If you guys can do that or whatever else you want, if you want to be a professional tuba player, go for it. Correct. Yeah, I'm glad I got into stocks finance at an early age. Brilliant. I mean, when I was younger, heck, I remember ever when I was a kid, now this is going back to the early 80s, interest rates at the bank, like you could get 2 to 3% on normal interest at a bank because that's how high inflation was. You have to remember back then, inflation was like 22%. So interest rates were stupid high. So having, a normal bank account where now you're going to get a fraction of a percent in returns, back then it was 2 to 3%. It was just normal. Even back then when I was like 8 years old, my mind was like, huh, if I have a good chunk of money in the bank, I'll make enough money coming in just from the interest to be able to live on. Makes a lot of sense. I since forgot about that and lost my track along the way. So I'm now where I'm at here, trying to recoup and make up that lost ground. But the younger you are and start that whole entire thing, the better off you're going to be. And that is financial advice. Just be wise with it. You've got to do the best thing for your own situation, but investing wisely is very, very intelligent. Yep, just trying to be wise. That's it. Honey, if I don't want to retire, I just want my Teslas to run the robotaxi network and I will just pimp my ride and pay me. That's one of the things I wanted to do. I don't know how Tesla's going to work it, but I was like, why don't I get a robotaxi fleet? Makes a ton of sense. Like I was like, I could go be an Uber driver, but why would I be an Uber driver if I could just have my cars be Uber drivers? I'll just buy the cars, let them drive themselves. And I can either hire somebody or when Optimus comes out, I'll hire an Optimist to plug in the cars to charge them when they come back. Like, makes a lot of sense. I'm totally, totally down for that. Michael, you know what? I was going to say it, but I didn't. Yes, I found girls. Girls distracted me. Girls and video games distracted me from my mission. It was video games first, then it was girls, and I don't regret any of it. I've learned a lot of things along the way, gained a lot of wisdom. But yeah, definitely just some distractions that took me away from uh from that. Money seems to really go when you're playing the field. And I was never a playing the field kind of guy. And I was always like, I was always a one woman kind of guy. So I liked a girl and that was it. I never went out there, but just dating in itself, like you just have that desire to spend money because you're like, I want to build a relationship with this person and spend money on them. It happens. And if the person you're with doesn't have a mindset to be frugal, then you're going to end up spending money. That was me along the way, was just spending that money. And yeah, when I got married, then it was just buying the house. And even when I bought the house, like it was a situation where I bought the house right before the housing market crash in 2008. So we bought it and we caught it right before that massive run. We got a great deal, bought a house for 205,000. They wanted 235. We hangled it down, got it for 205. A year later, the thing was worth 300. But we were starting a family. I wasn't really knowledgeable enough about flipping houses or doing anything like that. Had I known, I was like, ooh, let's look for another one and sell this house, make that $100,000 profit in a year. That's insane. A 50% profit in a year, roll it into another house. Never crossed my mind, didn't have that knowledge. And then like life took a different course for me. But it's just, I've always had that kind of beginner's luck with things and that wisdom. So I just needed to kind of harness it all. And now here I am trying to do my best with it. Honey, Tim, start your fleet and the girls will find you. Someday I will have the time to entertain women again. And not that I don't want to, I would love to. I'm just right now very, very busy guy trying to do a lot of things, trying to build my future. Yeah, owning a house really helps build wealth. It really does. I look at friends of mine who are in debt, but because they own a house and have equity in that house, they have a much higher net worth than I do, just because of the house. It's an asset that you own, and it's awesome. And if you have one that you can rent out as well, now it's bringing in cash flow. That was my plan. That's going to be my plan. I've altered it slightly. Um, I've come up with some ideas for what I want to do for the future, and I'm going to start working on that as I go forward. I'll share that with you guys as I get closer. But I do plan on traveling the country, finding places I love to visit, buying some property, and renting it out as Airbnbs. And any of you guys who are subscribers will all get discounts at my Airbnbs. Uh, Single stock investors have a big challenge. Invest in more stocks or a new spouse. Raymond, you're not wrong. That's one of the things I look at right now is every time I think about dating a girl, I'm like, oh man, it's like if I take her out to dinner, it's going to cost me like $100. I could buy half a share of Tesla with that. So like anytime I do meet a new girl, I was like, look at this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Do you have to understand what my goals are in the future? And if you agree with them, cool, let's do this. If not, then it's not going to work. Gene, do you think Tesla stock will split in 2024? No. Tesla stock, unless, no, I'm saying no pretty confidently because I have a feeling we're going to be getting into a recession at that point, and the stock price is actually going to come down from where it's at now versus go up. But I think in 2025 or 2026, about a year or so after we get that next gen vehicle hitting volume production, that is when I think we are going to see a split again. Got to hold a house for 2 years or you get whacked with taxes. Yeah, that's usually it. So especially if you're going to be rotating, like buying multifamily homes, at least here in Connecticut, I don't know if it's the same in every other state, but you would buy a multifamily home. You would be it'd be owner occupant. So you'd live in the house for 2 years, renting out the other places. After 2 years, you then move out, buy yourself another place. Then you just rent out the first one that you were in and roll it from there. In some cases, if you work it right, you could do it every year. If you are able to come up with the down payment for the next one, you could do it every year, but typically it's every 2 years. Doing Airbnbs is a totally different scenario. Michael, I'm ready for you to come on the channel full time. We can all use more of your delivery skills. That's something I am working on it. So for you guys who are newer and don't know, I've got some pretty grandiose plans that I'm working on behind the scenes. I've got a website, oracleinvestments.com. I'm working on it over there. I'm splitting it up. I just talked to my marketing manager doing a health and wealth section. For you guys who don't know, I actually have another YouTube channel I just started as well. It's Oracle Health and Fitness. So I'm putting on there, I'm going through my weight loss journey that I'm going through now. I hit 205. You guys can see behind me here. Here. Those are all my race medals. For 10 years, I did a lot of obstacle course racing, was in great shape. And then for me, I was like, I retired in 2019, the end of 2019. I did my final race. It was an ultra world championship in Sweden. And I did 30 miles there. And my body was just beat up and I didn't have that drive to do it anymore. So I decided, let me step away from racing. And in doing so, then COVID hit and I ended up getting fat. For me, it was definitely fat. So I hit 215 at one point, brought it back down, kind of hovered around the 200 level. And I'm typically at 175, 180. So I hit 205 again, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. Time to get back at it. And I signed up for my first race again on April 29th. I'll be running a race, but I wanted to do all of this. So behind the scenes, I'm also doing that. So if you guys want to subscribe to that channel, Oracle Health and Fitness, it's over there. It's my whole vlog, my day-to-day vlog of this is the struggle I'm going through. So if any of you are interested in health and fitness or looking for some inspiration and motivation, I got you over there. Most of the videos are just shorts right now. I'm going to do some more stuff on that. But I've got my website. And on my website, I also do stuff with other clients as well. So I've got free sessions you could sign up for. If you're interested, it's not financial advice, but some wisdom. Hey, these are the things I did to help myself get out of debt. These are some things I did to help myself get to a net worth that I have right now, which is over $100,000 within 5 years, from being $75,000 in debt to $120,000 net worth in 5 years. I can help you guys with some tips on that. Not financial advice, but I can help you there. If you're looking for some help on getting, help your weight down, I've done it. I've lost over 30 pounds 6 times. I was in great shape for, a decade doing all my races. So I'm doing all of these things behind the scenes so that once that's all built up, yes, Michael, I can come and do this full time for you guys on a multitude of levels for a lot of different things. Because the whole premise behind Oracle Investments isn't just investing in the stock market. It's investing in everything in life. My slogan is invest in life for life. It's about happiness. Can you live the best life you can for your entire life? And to me, that is really what it's all about. And it's not just about money. Money will be able to buy you, in many cases, that freedom to go and do the other things. But it's spending time with family and friends, taking care of your health, going out there, going on adventures. I love traveling, doing the things that you love to do. To me, that's what it's all about. And that's one of the things I want to help others and inspire others to do as well. And being able to do it full time is my goal. And I will get there. That is one thing that I know about myself is I do not give up on anything um, at all, ever. Yeah, I just keep going. Wissam, how many shares you got so far? I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again because I have no shame in that. 62 in my my main account and 11 in my IRA. Growing nicely every single day. I add $20 and I just keep on growing it. Marty, if FSD gets solved, it might not be going down at all. I mean, that's true. You're not wrong there. So those gaps below us, I think if I'm looking at anything from realistic standpoints, the gaps below us down to 114 most likely are going to get filled. Below 100, I was talking to somebody the other day about that. For us to go under 100, we really need to hit a nasty recession. So to me, that's kind of the breaking point. We'll fill that 114 gap, but if the recession is really bad, we'll probably come below that. Again, nothing's guaranteed, but that's my sense going forward. Now, with that said, if Tesla solves FSD, or we don't pull down to that level and Tesla puts out that next generation vehicle before we fill those gaps, maybe we don't come down and fill that 114 gap or any gaps below that at all, ever. We don't know. A lot of uncertainty is out there right now. And not only that, but if FSD does get solved, we still have to deal with regulations. Now, if Elon is talking to the prime minister in China about all of this and they get regulated and allowed over there before we get it here in the US, that's a bit of a game changer as well. So lots of different pieces moving right now. Katie, baby, yep, you invest in yourself and everything else falls into place. You're absolutely right. Take care of you. And it's one thing that I've talked about when it came to health and fitness. And a lot of times it was single moms was the big one because they're usually home with the kids and they want to take care of the kids. They do everything they can for their children. And the struggle that a lot of them come into is they're doing everything for the kids and they're not taking care of themselves. And the harsh reminder is, look, you have to take care of your own health. Mama Bear is out there in the wild. If Mama Bear does not take care of herself, she's going to die. The kids cannot fend for themselves. They will also die. So you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to figure it out. Take care of you first. And when you do that, you'll be able to take care of the people around you even better. And that to me is why I've really tried to harp on people of it's not about spending every minute of every day focusing on you being selfish. It's if you need to spend an hour or two a day, you work out, do something for your mental health, do that. Figure out how to make that happen so that this way you can help others even more. Lang, one day you'll find the right partner, thrifty and with the same goals as yours. That's what I'm looking for. That's it. And ironically, along the way, along this journey, and for me, it's about enjoying the journey. And I take a look and I take a step back and I reflect. It's one thing I like to do is every week or so I take a step back and I reflect on how things are going, how the week went, what can I do better, what did I do well that I want to continue doing, and I look at what did I learn over this past week, and a lot of it is what am I looking for in a significant other, and that is one of the things that I do is hey, I've learned these things. And I was like, ooh, in a significant other, I would like X, Y, and Z. Some things I'm totally wide open about. It doesn't concern me, but other things I'm like, they really need to have these things for me to make me happy and have a good pairing. And I'm a pretty open guy, so I'm not really picky at all. But yeah, that's really it. Is having same goals, similar mindsets. It makes a huge difference when you're meeting someone else. And of course, the more you think about it, then the more you narrow it down, and it becomes you think in your mind it's harder to find someone because you're narrowing that pool. But when you narrow that pool, when you do find that person, there's a better chance that that person is going to be the one you're going to be with versus saying, you were so close, but you're not it. So, good things to be said about, just learning about yourself along the way. Honey, if I invested in Tesla in my house, if VW opens up a battery factory here in St. Thomas, then I'll benefit with VW and Tesla. Can lightning hit me twice? That's a good point. So one of the things that I learned about a while ago was about 2017. Somebody told me buy land in Austin. Austin's going to be the next Silicon Valley. I didn't have the money to invest down there. I looked at it, but I just at the time I couldn't afford anything, so I was still significantly in debt. But look at it. If you had bought a house or any land or anything in Austin back in 2017, you'd be doing really well right now. So if you get news like this, VW putting up a factory, that's bringing a lot of jobs in. That typically brings up the market prices of the real estate in that area. It's one of the reasons why I was looking at Indonesia. If Indonesia is actually going to be putting up a factory for Tesla over there, I would love to buy some real estate there. I looked into it, not feasible for me. I believe when I looked at it, minimum for someone who is not a resident, they have to spend at least $600,000 on property there just to be able to buy in. I don't have that kind of money. So, looking at it though, like if you can find areas like that, up and coming areas, even if it's a different country, finding these areas where you think that there's going to be some sort of massive boom and growth, that's the place you want to go to. Most of the people in the know are way ahead of us. Just like when it came to colleges, I was like, hey, I would love to buy property around a college that my son is going to. That's been done. That was back done in the 70s and 80s. Somebody was like, ooh, light bulb went off. That's brilliant. Always going to have rental units there. Easy money. And now trying to buy one is stupid expensive. Yeah, FSD beta will get turbocharged if its beta is allowed in China. That's going to be huge. I'd actually be curious if China would regulate it before the US. Um, Raymond said Chinese cyber vault hype turned out to be nothing burger. It's like a metal box to protect your charger from being used by others. Yeah, man, like everybody was hyping that thing up, and Tesla's like, yeah, we got this coming, the cyber vault. And I was like, ooh, what's that all about? And I was like, ooh, it's crap. Like it was absolute nothing. It's like I wasn't sure if maybe the delivery numbers brought the stock price down, but then the cyber vault was going to bring it back up again. Nah, man, the cyber vault was nothing. Like I was actually more excited about the beer than the cyber vault. I would love to get that beer too. I'm really looking forward to it. I know who was it in here? Somebody had said that they had gotten the beer, so I'm looking forward to hearing how it tastes. Let's see. Any other news we got? I know there's a lot that went on today. We talked about Legacy Auto and their pathetic sales, Tesla FSD China, Mini Model Y. I don't even know what else was going on. Doge. Oh, man, lots of good stuff though. So like you guys out there, for me, I'm looking at it like there are so many good things that are going on for Tesla. So anybody who is upset about the stock price coming down, like it's going to come back up. Like just wait, it'll be going. I have no doubt we're going to be moving up significantly north. Like I said, I think we're going to end up splitting 2025 or 2026 again. So that to me is big. And what I'm doing with my money right now, and for you guys who don't know, like all the money that I have, I've got a good chunk in CDs right now, and CD interest rates are coming down. My highest one was just over 5%. I just bought another one today, and it's 4.8% for a 1 month. So the rates are coming down. That is leading me to believe that the Fed is going to be pausing at the next next FOMC meeting. That's in the middle of May. So I have a feeling that's what's going to end up happening as a pause, just because we're seeing rates coming down when it comes to the CDs. So I'm going to start shifting a little bit of that money, not a lot of it because I still don't know about the market, but I'm going to shift some of it into high yield dividends. And doing so by putting it in the high yield dividends, I'll go from that 4.8 to 5% return to a 12 to 16% return in those ETFs. Now, the danger there when you put it in the ETFs is if the market pulls back, you lose a lot of the equity in those ETFs. Now, if you don't end up selling those ETFs, it doesn't matter, because if you think they're going to rebound and come back up, it doesn't matter. You're still making the dividends on them. So you got to play that balance right there. But I may shift some of that money just to get some bigger returns. I can't remember who it was. Was it Melissa or Sophie, one of the two wonderful ladies that I have as members and patrons? They had mentioned about Charlie Munger, saying that the first $100,000 is the hardest. It's a pain in the ass to get to that $100,000 investment level. But when you're at that level, that's when your money really starts working for you. So I'm around that when it comes to that side of the things, around $30,000. So I'm working towards it. But moving up, like I can already see my money making me money. I mean, with that money that's in there, I'm pulling in, $100, $150. For those of you guys who are members and patrons, you see my finances every single week, pulling in like 100 to 125 bucks a month in just that. It's not a lot of money, but that's $100 a month that I'm getting just from having money. And that's how the whole system really works. Lang, I wish I should have started my ASX shares and US shares years ago. I postponed on learning investment in shares. Procrastinated too many years. I moved to US, to Malaysia, to Taiwan, and now in Australia. Look at you moving all over the place. I love that kind of traveling. Never been to Malaysia or Taiwan, but I loved Australia. But yeah, it's one of the things I look at is like I made a lot of mistakes when I was younger. Wish I could have gone back in time, but I have the wisdom now, so I'll do it now. I still have time, still young enough, still 43. So I wish I had started sooner, but better late than never. So just keep on doing it now. And now you're retired. So retired, hey, it happens, but look at you. You've lived an awesome life moving to all those places. That's fantastic. Katie, do you think Elon's Twitter antics has a significant impact on Tesla? I think Elon's behavior on Twitter significantly impacted people who are emotionally driven by the stock price. And that in turn did impact the stock price itself. That was it. It was the drama causing more drama, very similar to what we see in politics. And that was my take on it. As far as I'm concerned, all of that BS that was going on and people who were screaming and hooting and hollering, cool, have at it. The more upset you get, the better stock prices I have to buy at. I'm looking at the company from a fundamental standpoint. None of what Elon is doing on Twitter have anything to do with the fundamentals of Tesla itself. People can argue all day long about the fact that him doing that is bringing down the stock price. That's not good for the investors. It's not good for bringing in institutional investors. Who was buying the most when Tesla was beat up the most at the end of 2022 when this antics was at its peak? Institutional investors. They were the ones who were buying more than anyone else at that point because they understand that all of that is noise. So tell me all you want about the fundamentals and how it affects the stock price and institutions. Institutions showed me with their actions how they don't give a crap about that. So take it from what the actions were of institutions and all of that. For me, that's why I was also a buyer at that same time. Ooh, Starship launching next week. That's awesome. I forgot all about that. Yes, huge. That's big. And we got people going to the moon. Oh, so exciting. Exciting times we live in. Really. I know that in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to humanity, we're just like literally a blink of the eye. But to be around at the point where, as far as we know, there's never been a civilization on this planet that's been multi-planetary. So from this standpoint, to be around during this time where we can potentially be a multi-planetary species is pretty awesome. Ooh, I did not know this, Raymond. May Musk was recently in Shanghai. She was a huge hit with Chinese public. No need for Tesla to advertise. She did book signing and toured Giga Shanghai. That's awesome. I did not know that. And that's one of the things too. And I was talking to a bunch of you guys when it comes to China, and it's like the way China is portrayed here in the US is very poor. And it's not like that. Like you go over to China and they're significantly more advanced than our mainstream media portrays them. That's the reality of it. Whether you want to believe it or not, that is the reality. Marty, stock market investing should be taught in high school, and it isn't. You're right. My son with high school now, they're starting to go over some of that kind of stuff. So it's nice to do just some basic finances. But it's one of those things where if you go back to when I was younger, like my parents are the ones who taught me about finances. But back when I was younger, my mom was a stay-at-home mom and my dad worked. They were able to make ends meet with being able to do that. So it wasn't easy for them. I know they busted their butts to make it happen, but it was easier to have a stay-at-home parent, who was able to teach you a lot of these things. In these days, you either have a single parent or you have both parents working. And, I know there's a lot of families out there who can still do that and still teach their children these things, which is great. And it's not to put it on schools, but, to be able to give that education out there, because if the parents weren't taught that by their parents, then you go generation after generation of nobody knowing how to take care of your finances. Then nobody even knows to teach or how to teach their children about finances and investing. So it's kind of frustrating. So yes, having schools do it would be great. But obviously schools don't want to do that because you could call it a tinfoil hat theory, but most of that is all the public schooling that we have now is derived from the need to have factory workers and teach them the basics of what they need to do to work in a factory. So teaching them finances in school doesn't pertain to them working in a factory. They don't care if they know the finances. As a matter of fact, they don't want them to know about finances, because if they taught everybody in school about investing, then nobody would go work in the factories because they would all be investing their money. So that's my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my take. Katie, why is Kathy selling so many shares lately? She's selling shares because when it comes to her ETF, she can only have 10%. And this is dictated by her, but they can only have 10% of their portfolio in Tesla. So if Tesla goes up in price, which it has a little bit of pushback up to the 207 level, and then we just came back down. But when they're over 10%, and if the rest of their entire portfolio is underperforming, that in turn will push Tesla to much more than 10% of their portfolio. And so because of that, they will end up selling off just to keep themselves at that 10%. So that would be why Kathy is selling. It has nothing to do with the company itself and performance or anything like that. It's strictly because they're over 10%. And I know Alexandra Tesla Boomerama shares that information on a daily basis. Lang, besides knowledge of shares and property investment, we should learn local tax laws on capital gains first. Cost me thousands in capital gains taxes last year. My my first year of shares investment. Yeah, the capital, and there's a lot in that. I know when I've had Jen Strahan on here, she's third generation real estate, so she's very very knowledgeable on this stuff. So for her, it's just second nature. But there's a lot to learn when it comes to that. When it comes to real estate, and they haven't changed it yet, but I can't remember what the actual terminology is. But if you sell your property and then take that money that you make from it and take those gains and immediately purchase another property, I don't know what the time frame is on it, but you have to purchase it within a certain amount of time and roll that money into another property, you don't have to pay gains on it. They're trying to do away with that because that's what this generational wealth has been built up is people will continue to do that. They'll buy more and more properties. They're going to spend that money as they build it, get bigger and nicer properties. And then they end up passing that along to their children in their will. So the children take that on and it gets adopted by them. And the children don't have to pay the capital gains taxes either. And they can just continue that process going forward. So that's why when you see the generational stuff like that, that's why these generational people who are with real estate just keep getting more and more wealthy as time goes on. Honey, if I hope Elon sends thousands of Tesla bots to Mars to build a human habitat for our future. That's my thinking. When as soon as they announced Optimus, I thought that would be ideal. If they can have Starship take a bunch of Optimus robots all the way to Mars, Starship is going to fly on FSD, so you don't need pilots. It's just going to take them there. And then the robots don't have to worry about the elements outside like humans would. So they could easily go up there and start building the colony and have it prepared for humans for us to get there. At least that's my thought. So whether that's actually going to happen or not, I don't know. And I have a feeling Elon's town that he's building is going to kind of be like the base model for what they're going to try and do up on Mars. Felipe, Tim, Tesla increasing 50% on average year after year means the factories have to increase 50% the producing. Can they do it year after year? Yes and no. So with the average growth of 50%, they've already exceeded that by so much in the first couple of years of this decade that they now need 40% year over year growth on average by 2030 to maintain that 50% average. It's crazy to think about, but that's how much they have grown so quickly in these first few years of the decade. So my thoughts on this, and I just shared it with somebody the other day, is even if they don't grow that quickly over the next year and a half due to a recession, when that next generation vehicle comes out, if you look at Shanghai and the Model 3, when they put out the Model 3 and then put up the Shanghai factory, there were massive leaps when it came to their production and deliveries. That is going to end up happening again when Mexico comes online and they start putting out that next generation vehicle. So even if the next year or so is 35 to 40%, that next generation vehicle is going to push us up to over 50% from that point. And it's going to continue going that way for probably 2 years. And then it may come back down to 40% after that. But even then, they've pushed it up again so high that they probably will only need 35% year over year to finish off the decade at still the average of 50%. So I have a feeling that's how it's going to end up playing out. Moose, it is unlikely that we can colonize Mars. The gravity is only 30% that of Earth. That isn't something that can be fixed by technology. Long term, it isn't biologically viable. I mean, they did it in Total Recall. My thoughts on that, and I'm actually curious. I don't know enough actually about physics. Obviously, gravity is gravity, so it's going to be the same whether you're above ground or below ground. But if you're underground, how does the gravity? How does it work there? I mean, can they make? Seeing as we could have gravity effects when you go into spaceships and space stations, things like that, can they do the same thing on a colony on Mars and create false gravity? That I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a technology that we do end up having, and we end up having underground civilizations like they had in Total Recall, and they have created gravity there for it. And Elon did state that when it comes to Mars, they do have basically polar ice caps. And his thought is if you go to the poles there and you drop nukes on them, obviously, it'll work, but not the greatest way. But if you drop nukes on the poles there, you can actually create an atmosphere on Mars. That was at least Elon's theory last I had heard. I don't know if that is still holding true, but that is one of the thoughts that he had had. Yeah, Marty. CATL and 3MP battery might allow Tesla to reduce prices in China and elsewhere. That's a big point, and that was one of the things. As soon as they announced, I was like, that came out right after they announced the next generation vehicle. I'm like, yep, that's going in the next generation vehicle. I have no doubt, and that might even go into new vehicles when they come out too. This is a good point. Also, how many people are going to YOLO their Tesla profits into the Starlink IPO? A lot is my guess. I don't know if it's going to be all of it, truly, because Tesla has so much room to grow, and Tesla has so many more pieces to it than Starlink. Thinking about all the different areas that Tesla's going into, just the EVs alone, are going to be the baby of Tesla as it gets bigger. We've got energy, we've got FSD, we've got Optimus. If all of those things do come to fruition, it's going to be worth significantly more than Starlink. So I think Starlink itself is going to be awesome. I think SpaceX could potentially be bigger if we do get to this multiplanetary species. SpaceX could be massive. Obviously, there's a lot more, risk play there, but I think that could be massive as well. I'm definitely going to buy into the Starlink IPO when it comes out. I won't even hesitate. I'll definitely get into that. But I think a lot of people are going to understand that Tesla will be more valuable than Starlink. The big downside for Elon Mars mission is he will sell tons of shares to fund that mission. No governments are willing to put up that level of funds to save humanity. I mean, sadly, you're not wrong, but thinking about how more institutions coming in to buy the stock, having Elon having that many shares is awesome. But when you start looking at it from the standpoint where eventually Elon is going to die, we all do, it happens. What are going to happen with his shares when he dies? Would we rather him sell those shares to fund a Mars mission to save humanity, or would we rather his inheritance, whoever's going to end up getting these shares, get it and not do what he wants? Maybe he's got it in his will that says, hey, if I die, these shares need to be held for X number of time. Who knows what's going on there, but things can change. So if he's if you trust Elon and you trust what he's going to be doing with his money and shares, think about it. When he sold all of those shares, they were still all bought up. It's just bought up by a multitude of people versus one person. It's going to continue to happen. When he sells the shares, more people are going to buy them. So I'm not too concerned about that, especially when we go long term. He won't be doing that until 2025, maybe some in 2024. And I don't know if it's going to be for the Mars mission or whatever it's going to be. But either way, he's going to sell. We're going to buy him. The stock will still go up. We all win. Yeah, Tesla's going to make an anti-gravity vehicle, the anti-gravity Cybertruck. Maybe it's already built into the Cybertruck and we don't know it. Honey, if maybe Elon will send a boring tunnel machine to dig out a colony there. That's my thoughts. Looking at all of the different companies that Elon has, boring company to bore the colony underground for them. Again, like we saw in Total Recall, makes total sense. Total Recall sense. Then you've got Tesla with the vehicles and Optimus that are going to help build it. The vehicles like the Cybertruck to drive around up there. You've got SpaceX. Obviously, it's going to take us there. That's what's going to happen. Starlink is going to be the internet connection so that you can communicate. And Twitter is going to be the place you're going to get your news and information. The speed of information is vital to a society. Literally, he is all of his companies, while he says they don't intertwine with each other, are exactly the companies that you would need to create a colony on another planet. So I have no doubt that's going to happen. Good night, David. I appreciate you, man. Let's see. I'm going to get off in a minute myself, too. All right, last question, then I'm going to get off of here. Felipe, let's dream, Tim. How many new factories do you think will open until 2030? So Elon said most likely 10 total. 10 to 12 total is my guess. I have a feeling they're going to have probably 8 to 10 main gigafactories, and then they'll probably have a few smaller factories in localized areas. Like they may have a smaller factory in England or the UK somewhere just to localize in that spot, and maybe a couple of small ones elsewhere. So I think we're going to see Mexico and another one announced this year. That's going to end up putting us at 5 for vehicles at least. So we'll have those 5 factories there. We're going to have obviously mega pack factories and other stuff going on also. So we'll have 5, and then maybe seeing as it's 2023, maybe 2025, we hear about 2 more factories as well. So the way that they're ramping right now, we may not need to. I thought we were going to see maybe 6 or 7 factories between now and 2025. The way they're ramping, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to end up going slower, and I think they're going to be perfectly fine because they're going to speed up and ramp those factories very quickly along the way. So we'll see Mexico, maybe Indonesia. 2025, we'll hear about 2 more, maybe probably one more in Europe, and who knows where the next one's going to be. And then maybe every 2 years, we'll hear about 2 new factories, and that'll be it. So I think 10, maybe 12 by 2030 is what we're going to see. And yeah, exactly. 4 million vehicles out of Nuevo Leon. So if you're going to have 4 million vehicles coming out of one factory and your goal is 20 million, you don't need that many more factories. Elon said the reason they would do it is for logistical purposes because it just makes more sense to cut down on shipping costs, material transportation, and all of that. So if you're looking at where they're going to put it, where are the sales going to be going, and where are you going to be getting materials and all of your staff from? Because they're looking for talent. So they want to buy talent and materials, and that's it. So, all right, that's all I've got for you guys. Pushing over an hour right now. I got to get myself ready for bed. You guys are awesome as always. I appreciate all of your support. Again, if you guys want to check it out for health and fitness, check out Oracle Health and Fitness on my other YouTube channel, and we will see you guys later.